Hello, everyone. Welcome to this really cool, exciting live stream, cross-posting with Testament and The Shift. If you guys don't know me, my name is Paul Sørstad. I am the creator and the director of Testament, which is the upcoming TV series that reimagines the Book of Acts in a world set very much like our own today. But today is going to be an exciting show because we are chatting with the legend, the writer and director of The Shift, Brock Heasley, which is very exciting. I'm excited. And if you guys are here tuning in as fans of The Shift, welcome. If we haven't met, hi. Really lovely to meet you. As you can tell, I am not from the US. I am all the way over here in London, in the UK. It is 8 p.m. here, so it's my dinner time. But really glad to be here. Really glad to be with you guys. And if you didn't know, we're actually Testament is actually right now open for investment. We opened last week, which was the first time, which is really exciting. So it's our first hurrah with all of this. And I know Brock's kind of an expert on this and now is ready to get into production, which I'm really excited for. And we're going to be talking about, is Christian a genre? People say Christian film, people say Christian movies, people say Christian music. And I know I've got some strong feelings about this, and I've heard that Brock's got some strong feelings about this. So I'm really excited about that. What would be great from you guys right now, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, is to type in the chat just something, anything. It can be hello, it can be where you're watching from. I'd love to know that. I always really love seeing that people are watching from all over the world. I find that very exciting. So where you're watching from, or maybe what is your favorite, and I'll put it in quotation marks, Christian movie or show or anything like that. But without further ado, I don't want to take up all the time here. I'm really excited to join on with Brock Heasley. Hello, Brock. Oh, no, I can't hear Brock. And I don't know if that's... can everyone else hear Brock? Or is it... That's okay. So what we're going to do now is, if we're not hearing Brock, is everybody else can comment what they think Brock's saying based on a lagging lip sync. I've still not got you. Okay, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to try. The tech team is going to try and sort the audio with Brock, and what we're going to do is we're going to show the trailer for the Testament movie. We're also going to show a trailer for the Shift film and talk about the genres that they are. But it's something, if you are new to Testament, we actually have this whole film completely out and available right now, available on the Angel app.
Hello, can you hear me?
It's free, it's there. Oh, I can hear Brock. Yes, I can hear Brock.
Oh, all right.
Hello, Brock.
Hello.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened, but we fixed it. That's the important thing.
The wonders of tech. Yeah, it is. Great to see you. What time is it for you over there?
Gosh, what is it? It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so quite a bit earlier.
Okay.
Quite a bit. I noticed you said that your dinner time is right now, which is 8 p.m. That is also a very European thing to say. I don't know about everybody else, but I eat a lot earlier than that. But I know that in Europe it's.
To be fair, most people in the UK eat a lot earlier, but I'm born and raised in Spain, and then I traveled and moved different countries, so I'm used to a lot later. But definitely the Brits are much earlier.
Gotcha. That makes
anyway,
sense.
so what we are going to be doing is showing these trailers, as I said. So we're going to do first. Hey from Kentucky, Brenda. Hey, Brenda. Great to have you here. From Texas, loving this. Florida. This is very cool. Northeast Texas.
From Northeast Texas.
Hey,
cool.
And Ian from
Germany. Awesome.
Look at that. That
cool.
is far, isn't it? That's amazing. And I'm excited. Double-Edged Sword Ministries. Yeah, me too. So what we're going to do is we're going to show a clip from Testament. We're going to also, not a clip, the trailer, and also a trailer from The Shift. Talk about the genres, and then can get into our our discussions about it all.
Our fight.
Something to know about the Testament. Yeah, our fight. If we might just agree on everything, and it might be a very boring conversation.
I don't even know. We haven't talked about it beforehand. We have no idea.
No, not at all. But the trailer for this is actually a film that is completely out, available to watch right now on the Testament, on the Angel app, I should say. And it is the inspiration for our series, which is going to retell the Book of Acts. So the movie is a little bit different, but here is the trailer for our movie, Testament, the Parables Retold.
I don't know what I'm doing here. I came all this way with Paul for him to get himself arrested.
And you are?
Luke.
You a doctor, Luke?
He's also a writer.
Did Jesus like telling stories?
He told loads of stories. He talked like that all the time.
But why?
There was once a sower.
There was one young woman who thought the very
Once a
same.
man on a certain journey.
Found a treasure of the great maestro and the 3 talented students.
We need to keep the city safe.
James is getting worried.
Understandably.
Luke, come on. We waited for you for 4 days and you never came.
Our Nat will be his story.
That's such good stuff, man. That line, that's such a great line at the end. And I'm going to hijack this live stream for just a second, because yesterday I watched the full Testament film for the first time. And obviously I'm familiar with your project and I'd seen stuff, but I'd never actually taken the time to just watch the movie all the way through. I wanted to be prepared for today. And so I did. I took the time to watch it, and I'm so glad that I did. And for anybody who is watching this who is watching this because of me or because they're familiar with the shift, or if they're just curious about the Testament and you haven't taken the opportunity to watch the full film, you really have got to go and do that, because what Paul has created on very, very little money, which is a concept I'm a little bit familiar with, is extremely impressive, number one. But look, even if you didn't know that, you'd be like, wow, this is good. I mean, honestly, I think in some ways Paul does a disservice by telling people how much he did it for, because I think that puts in your mind of, oh, this is going to be some like cheap, shoddy thing. And it is not that at all. And what's more, I think what you've done in bringing the book of Acts and in bringing particularly the parables into this real world modern day setting, the way that you've reframed them, to give them, to basically give them the meaning that they probably held for the followers of Christ at the time 2,000 years ago. You know, they understood these parables because it was very much related to their life experiences. You've done the same thing by taking the parables and just taking the same ideas, the same concept, the same stories, but just putting them into total like modern day, you know, here's how this could be played out. You know, the sower, this good Samaritan. And what would that look like? What would we don't have Samaritans and Jews. What would it be today? You know, and that story in particular, how you handled that parable. And I don't want to spoil it, but I'll just say that you found some great modern day parallels with two groups that really dislike each other. And you've put that into the Good Samaritan story, which gave it completely new resonance for me as I was watching it. And it just allowed me, I know the story very well. I know the lesson of the Good Samaritan very well. I'm imagining a lot of people here listening and watching this right now are very familiar with that story. But seeing it the way that you did it, which is completely in line and in accordance with how it is presented in Scripture, but just in a new context, in the same way that we can take Shakespeare and put him in modern day, and it's like an awesome movie, like, you know, 10 Things I Hate About You or something like that. You've done something similar with the parables, and it resonated with me on such a deeper level because of that. I was able to relate to it, and that movie demonstrates the value of Testament. It really shows like how powerful this series can, and I believe will be. You're a talented dude. Like I know you co-wrote that, you directed it.
Thanks, Brock.
If you can do that much with that little, I'm very, very excited to see what you can do with the full thing. I'll tell you this too, to everybody listening. I'm an investor. I've invested in Testament, and I think you should too. And I'm not getting kickback. I'm not involved in Testament anyway. I'm just guesting on this live stream. But I'll tell you, I was a believer having met you and having been familiar with the project, but then having watched Testament yesterday, the parables retold, I'm a diehard true believer, man. It's good stuff. It really is. And it's worthy.
Oh, Brock, thank you. That's, I don't know what you're like when you get a torrent of compliments. I'll just sit here awkwardly and nod.
It's pretty much what I do too. Yeah. I just say thanks and put my head down and hope it just ends. But sorry, I had to subject you to it. I had to speak truth today. So that's what I did.
Well, thank you very much. It's very, very kind. So I'll go on that and be like, hey, if you want to follow Brock's advice and watch the movie, it's all available on the Angel Studios app. It's got its own little thing. You can download it on the Google or on the Apple, or I think you can even go to just angel.com and the film is on their watch page. And it's free, which is awesome. Which is very cool. It is on Amazon and iTunes.
It should not be free. People should have to pay $10 to watch this thing, honestly. Like, it would be worth $10, but it's not. It's free. And so you're dumb if you don't watch it. I'm just going to be offensive like that and say you are dumb if you do not watch Testament. You really need to do that.
Thanks so much. Well, it's there, and I think one of the things that we'll do this bit of the talking next then, because I think it'd be good to talk about it together, because I'm excited I've followed from a long time ago from the stuff that you've been doing. And unfortunately, I'm not an investor in the shift because I'm not allowed to be, because I'm not a citizen of the United States. So I would be if I could be, but I just couldn't be. But I'm really excited that you guys are going into production soon. So I don't know, Brock, why don't you introduce the trailer for what we're about to watch, and then we can talk about the genres of them.
Yeah, so The Shift, for those of you that aren't familiar, is kind of a sci-fi film, a bit of a thriller, but also has some faith elements in it. And so we're kind of doing something a little bit different with it. And what you're about to see sets it up nicely, I think. And all of the footage you're about to see is taken from two sources: a spec short film that we made that you can watch, on the Angel app and wherever. And then also some test footage that was shot earlier this year to give kind of an idea of what the film is like outside of that short film that we shot a number of years ago, before we even had a feature film in mind. But now we're taking that short film and we are turning it into a full-length feature film. And we're actually rolling camera in January. So this thing's coming up pretty quick. But yeah, here is the Shift trailer.
It's a test.
For every choice you make, there are countless other realities where you make different choices. Imagine the power to move one person from one reality to the next.
You can do that?
Just say the word.
You tell me! Where did everybody go?
When are you finally going to wake up and realize he doesn't take care of his own?
What do you know about me?
You're a fiend, a crook, a liar. Your goal? Misery.
Before this live stream, I thought I had seen everything that you guys had put out together, but I hadn't seen that trailer of all the things mixed together, and the music. Oh man, that is that hypes me up for that film.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
That music track. It's interesting you should point that out, because that music track is a new release recently from a band called King Penguin, half of which is Matthew S. Nelson, who is one of our composers, or will be one of our composers on the feature film. So, but as soon as I heard that track, it was released like a month ago or so, I was like, man, I could picture The Shift. I love that track so much. It wasn't made for us, but I love it.
Oh, it's excellent, and I'm excited. I'm hoping. My question for you would be, where are you going to be seeing the film first? What cinema are you going to see your movie on the big screen first? And can I come?
Yeah, right. Oh gosh, man. I'll tell you, I can't even think about that right now. I mean, I know that this is Angel's first big feature film, their original putting the feature film out there. And so I know that our plan is to go pretty wide with this thing and do it up right and do it up big. So I'm excited for that and for that premiere and everything. But at this point, I'm like, I can't even think about that. All I can think about is day one of principal photography. I got to get to that point, and then I'll figure out what comes after that.
Right.
But I'm sure you can understand that. It's just it's so massive and big, and especially for me and you, our stories aren't dissimilar, to where I think, we're both coming from a place of where we haven't, it's not like we've got these giant connections, into the film industry. That's just something, that we're kind of barging our way in as guys who don't have the deepest of resumes. But we've got both of us, I think we have such a passion for storytelling and such a passion for storytelling in film. And I see a similar kind of DIY, pulling yourself up from nothing, a thing that you've got going on that I know is a little bit of my story as well.
Yeah, we noticed that Angel kept on calling us scrappy, and that's the term that we've just taken now with scrappy team. Yeah. which I think is really just extending whatever budget you have, right? Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Amazing.
all that really means. It just means using your resources to the fullest, and making it look like something costs a lot more than it really did. I think that's something you've done, and I think we've done the same.
So earlier, when you introduced, I think you gave yourself a little bit away on the question: is Christian genre? Because when you introduced The Shift, you said it is a sci-fi thriller with faith elements, which
Yes.
makes me think that your answer to this question is no.
Yes. I do not believe that Christian is a genre. No, it is not. It is not. And in fact, I don't think it should be. Christian is I don't know. It's as far as film goes, I don't mean to be reductive, but it's a topic. It's something that you can address within a film, but I would hate to think that it defines a film. Genre is genre. I mean, I'm not going to like break out the Webster's dictionary right now, but to me, genre does describe a type of film. But if you say that Christian is a genre, then what does that mean? And I think the fact that immediately as you think about the answer to that question, if Christian is a genre, what does that mean? And what does that genre look like? You're probably conjuring up a bunch of images and a bunch of films of a certain type, maybe certain stories, certain kinds of stories. And I would challenge you in that, and I would ask you, is that necessarily a good thing? Are the things that you're imagining right now, is that really a Christian genre, or is that just what a lot of films that deal with the Christian faith have presented to you? And I think therein is my issue, where there are so many stories that we can tell that can express faith, that to call faith a genre, I think is extremely, or Christian faith, a genre of film is extremely limiting. A Christian film or a film that deals with faith can be literally any genre. So in the spirit of not limiting it, I say, no, Christian is not a genre. Now,
unfortunately, Brock, I completely agree with you, and therefore there's nothing else to be said, and that's the end of the live stream. No, not at all. No, I just couldn't agree more. It isn't a genre at all, and I think you're right. You do have certain images that come to mind when someone says Christian. And actually, one thing that you can see in my little answer there is Christian genre. You see, it's really small writing.
Oh, look, there it is.
It's
there
not.
It is. I totally didn't see that before. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I just couldn't resist putting it in. I was like, no, it's going in there. I think there is this the idea of what a Christian film is, and yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It is just unhelpful because I think the way, because I was actually wondering what the Christian bit is, and I think you were right where you placed it in terms of it's a topic or it's the thematic element, but certainly not potentially an audience in some cases. But there's I see film. Actually, one question I will ask, because I see these two genres banded together, which is faith and family friendly. And I see those two as always like I see by all these distributors put these two things together, and I don't necessarily think that is right. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it's not. In the same way that it's funny because another category that's often referred to as a genre and family friendly, and it's totally inappropriate to call it either one, is animation. Animation is not a genre. Animation is a medium, and animation does not mean for kids. It often means for kids, but that's just because of the culturally where we've gone and commercially. But it absolutely does not. Animation does not mean family friendly, nor does Christian. Now, look, if you're talking about faith, you're usually talking about values. Sometimes we'll use the word truth or values as synonymous with faith filmmaking, and I don't think that's totally inappropriate. I think a faith, generally speaking, I mean, there are some faiths, I suppose, that are a little bit more askew from this, but generally speaking, faith is about instilling some kind of moral or ethical values within the individual. That's part of the purpose of faith. Obviously, it's more than that, but I'm speaking just broadly. And within that, I think it's easy to go from there to family friendly. Like, that makes sense to me. But I think that there is more that we can define as far as truth and as far as what is right and morally good outside of what is just appropriate for kids, which is really what family friendly means, right? Family friendly means the whole family can watch it. Well, there are some stories that aren't very family friendly, but they're still worth being told, and they also involve faith. And just for an example, I'm thinking of, and this is getting a little bit of our conversation today, but I recently watched the movie Father Stew, which is an R-rated faith film. Now, I admittedly watched it on VidAngel, so I took out all the F-bombs and everything I didn't want, but I don't disagree with the way that film was made. That film is true to the story of the man that it's about. It's a true story, and it's about his journey from being this really rough and tumble guy into becoming a full-fledged Catholic priest. Very interesting story, fascinating, and done in all of its R-rated glory. I definitely would have done it a different way, but I have no qualms with the fact that the filmmakers went the way that they did. I would not show it to kids in any iteration. I don't think, number one, they'd be too interested. And number two, I think there are parts of it that just, maybe they shouldn't see. Does that mean that it's not Christian? No, absolutely not. Does that mean that it's not, that it shouldn't be made? No, absolutely not. So I think we've really done ourselves a disservice by just thinking of these things as, it can only be this. If it's faith, then it automatically is family friendly. If it's animation, then it automatically is family friendly. No, neither of those things are true. We just think they are, or we assume they are. And then you get people who get really upset too when they go to a faith film or an animated film and it ends up being a little bit more risque. They get mad, like, wait a minute, I thought this was for kids. And it's like, no, that's your mistake. That's not really what was advertised, and that's not what they have to be.
Yeah, I mean, I always think of even the Bible. You have the sometimes just a simplified version for kids to read, so they can learn about the story of David and things like that. Thing is, you actually read the actual story of David, or even just the Book of Kings. It is not family friendly, but it is very full of faith. So it's
we're not reading the Song of Solomon as a family tonight, just so everybody knows.
No, that's not what we're doing at all. But I think when it comes to a faith film, or rather Christian film, I think there's two elements of this. I don't think that film can make disciples, right? That's not what film does, because the people who make disciples are people. Followers of Jesus make other followers of Jesus, and that's how we proceed. Films, I see them as seeds. They are seeds for the gospel to be cast, that are something that you can implant in someone, or something that you can give to somebody, that then somebody else along the line, another follower of Jesus, can come along and actually water it, and God will give the growth. That's how I see these movies. They are to carry, the healing leaves. They're to sow the seeds of the gospel. That's what film is. However, when it comes to a Christian film, and this is where I think, you and I certainly in making this sort of content have a role to play as Christians, is the sets, is when we're actually producing it, and how we decide to conduct ourselves, how we decide to conduct our sets, because you and I are going to be the head of those respective sets. How do we treat people? The industry has got a reputation of how they handle and how they treat actors or crew members or runners, and actually what you and I need to do is go, everyone who steps onto this set is made in the image of God, and we need to love them with the love that Jesus has told us to love them with. And I think every time that we've done a short and every time that we've made a film, like, the comments back from people who don't believe either have been like, there's something different about this set, and it's like, because we're praying for you, and it's like, because we're loving you, and because we're not bringing what you might have felt on other sets. And that, I think, for me, more than the content, brings what a Christian film is. Do you know what I mean? And I use Christian in that term for content. But the films themselves, I think there are two kind of Christian films. There are films that are for the church, and there are films that are from the church. Now, films that are for the church we see quite often. You know, the amazing things that speak to aspects of faith, like War Room, Courageous, Fireproof. You know, the Kendrick brothers are experts at this, and they do things that really that encourage, that challenge the church as, you know, as the church. You know, are you being a good father? Are you being a good spouse? What is your relation like with your son, with your daughter? Like, these are and what's your prayer life like? These are elements of these kind of films that I think are so good, but a non-believer isn't exactly going to watch it. And then you have films that are from the church, right? From people like you and me, we're trying to reach a wider audience, that we're trying to go out and actually, can you call them evangelistic in some sort of way? Maybe that's probably a different discussion, but you know, they're films that, and we'll get into them later on our list of films that we like. They're films that are sowing seeds, and that hopefully, you know, I can talk to then somebody about, as you said, Father Stu, who's watched it, you know, who isn't a Christian, being like, so what did you think about the actual content being talked of? Or what do you think about the God that he believed in? And I haven't seen the film yet, and I'm actually really looking forward to it. But I don't know, that's my kind of, my little take on Christian film.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting way that you've broken that down. And that's something I hadn't really considered before, you know, for and from. I think there's also a third aspect of it, if I can be so bold as to introduce that is neither for or you know, in trying to portray the very churchly, that's not a word, things about the Christian way of life, and then also that has this kind of evangelical bent or is trying to what am I trying to say? What is the word? Trying to proselytize or not, or just sowing those seeds. I think there's something that's besides all of that. And I think that maybe is a little bit more of the angle that I approach it from, which is the question I have is, what kind of a culture do we want to live in? And the culture that I want to live in is where faith and believing is something that is not mocked, that is something that is accepted, that is something that is part of the fabric of the reality in which we live. And too often in our films that we watch, faith is mocked, faith is non-existent. And I was probably speaking mostly about science fiction films, because that's what I watch a lot of. You know, science fiction, when science fiction mixes with religion, there are a lot of people who get very angry. One example of this is Battlestar Galactica. Battlestar Galactica was a 4-season TV show that dealt with faith from the very first episode. And in the last episode, when the existence, and this is a slight spoiler alert for those of you that have not seen the last episode, you know, like 15 years ago, of Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, people got so angry. It's so true.
But people got so angry because at the end of the day, the show said God does exist and he cares about us. That was what the show decided to say at the very end. And that was such a fascinating thing to see in a sci-fi show. And yeah, people got mad. They were like, wait a minute. I thought this whole thing was leading towards religion being a farce. And it turns out no. And for those people who actually got upset at that, I would say you were not paying attention. This show was telling you what it was from the very, very beginning. And you were not paying attention if you really thought that at the end they weren't going to go that way. So I love it. It's one of my all-time favorite finales because I think it's totally consistent with what that show is. And it's not a Christian worldview, but it validates the idea that there is a higher supreme being and he cares about us and he's watching out for us and he's trying to steer us in the right direction. Ultimately, that's what Battlestar Galactica was trying to say. At least that's part of what it was trying to say. It also said, you know, we should watch out for robots because they'll be our masters one day. But there's a lot of good messages in there. But what I'm looking for is, what I want to do is I want to put something out into the culture that's good and that's great. And whether that's having to do with faith or not, I think as long as it's trying to bring some light into the world, which is, you know, the Angel Studios mission, I think that's great. But I don't think I need to make something that is specifically saying to people, hey, this is the way you got to go and go check out your local church. Like, I don't feel like I need to do that. I want to create a culture. I want to be part of a culture that says faith is important and it's part of our lives and that's okay and that's good. And the reason for that is because culture really determines reality. I really believe that. Our culture, more than anything else, determines our reality. When we look back on the history of the world, art history is history. That's where history comes from. It comes from our art. That's how we define ourselves. Art is how we tell people through the ages who we are. And look, I'm part of this is because I was an art major and I studied art, and I did study art history. But if you really think about it, if you think about archaeology, if you think about everything we know, so much of it is dependent upon the art created by these ancient civilizations. That's where we get the most information about who these people were and how they lived. And I want to be part of something to where when people look back on our day, they can say, yeah, there were these guys and they were making these movies and this TV show, and it was talking about faith. And it wasn't just all, murder and mayhem and serial killer shows, that there were people who were really trying to put something else out into the world, and that they believed in it strongly enough that they put all of their time and energy into it, all of their money, everything they had to create this thing that at the end of the day is really just saying God is real and he loves you. I think that's really powerful. I think art is powerful, and I think it's powerful for that reason. So, to me, it's not just about being evangelistic or anything like that. Although certainly I have no problem with that. I served as a missionary. I've done that. But when it comes to creating art, I think primarily we got to entertain people, and then secondarily to that, we've got to put something good out into the world, because what kind of a world do we want to live in?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And you are right about number one there, because we do have to entertain people. That is, when it comes to TV and film, that is number one. Otherwise, people won't watch. So that's the end of it.
Otherwise, none of the rest of it matters.
No, exactly. Because the
message won't matter
because they won't hear it.
Right.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so you and I, we've gone through, and guys, what I'd love to do as well is hear from any questions that you have at the end. We'll answer as many questions as we can about whatever we can answer, and also just because, and only because we're open at the moment for investment. Otherwise, it'd be like, go to the shift as well. But at the moment, Testament is live for investment. So head over to angel.com/Testament. Because you can go to the shift and look at all the people who did invest, but it's closed now.
Yes.
So we have chosen some films that Brock and I, or individually, have chosen, and we're going to put up the posters. And these are kind of films that carry some Christian messages, and we'll start easy, and then we'll go a little bit more, we might have to explain ourselves kind of route.
Yes,
so,
I think we are going to have to.
I think, yeah. And actually, the good one to start with is actually the film that probably kicked off the major story in terms of faith films actually can be profitable and can be successful, which is not family friendly at all.
Yeah,
but it is the passion of the Christ. Not family friendly. Do not watch this with your kids. It's not okay. But this had such a huge effect, and I know when we as Christian filmmakers, we look back, this is kind of the one that started it all off, or at least the new wave, and anyway, you could say. So this is an easy one, and I would say probably after this, the next kind of easiest for people to be like, oh yeah, of course. One of my favorites is The Chronicles of Narnia, which was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I really enjoyed this take on this version of the film. I'm really upset that they didn't kind of carry on past, I think, 3 of them.
They did 2 more. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did the 3.
They did 2 more. Yeah,
then it stopped.
They've not really got past that.
No, they're good films. I think they're good films, but I think they were missing just a little something. I think. I would love to see somebody take another go at it. I think there's room for somebody to come in and try again.
I think I read somewhere that someone's doing a series. I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that Netflix has got the rights at the moment, but I don't. Cool. I could be wrong in that, which would be good. And then the one obviously after this, which kind of is quite easy, which is C.S. Lewis's counterpart, which is J.R.R. Tolkien and The Lord of the Rings. Which is has a lot of faith elements in there. You probably have to do a little bit more work on that one to get it, but it's certainly there. I remember as a kid having to like try and explain Lord of the Rings to somebody, older, who's like, "Oh, I only watch things that are Christian," and I was like, it's still this. I don't know what I said, but must have been good because they watched it.
Did they like it?
No, absolutely. Who doesn't like Lord of the Rings? It's such,
Good.
As well. It's
My
one
wife,
film, really.
actually,
it's three films
it.
in one. No.
Yeah. I got her to see Fellowship. We saw that in the theaters, and then she tapped out. She was like, she was mad at me for dragging her to Fellowship. It's not her thing. Does not like fantasy. I know. So they're out there. They're out there. I would say that they're stupid, except that's my wife, and so I can't say that. But
so don't say we're not saying that.
So I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that, but it is an opinion I disagree with.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, and now I can't remember are there any other nice and easy ones, tech team, that we have that's next?
This was one that I selected. So this is another one of those where I think it's not like overtly saying, "Oh, this is Christian," it's not at all. There's no mention of Jesus or anything like that. But obviously, prayer is a big part of this film. A lot of praying. Just about everybody in this film, except for the bad guy, actually says a prayer at some point, which is pretty cool when you think about that. It starts off with God talking to angels in kind of a very 1940s Hollywood type of way, but and it's ultimately the film is about charity. Ultimately, the film is about doing right by people because it's just the right thing to do and helping out your neighbor. And if that isn't a Christ-like message, I don't know what is. That's pretty much the ultimate Christ-like message. So It's a Wonderful Life has got to be, in my opinion, it's got to be in any conversation about Christian films. It exemplifies Christ. At
the risk of upsetting especially the Harmon brothers over at Angel Studios, because I know how much they love this film, I have not yet seen it.
What? Okay. Well, you know what you're doing tonight. Look, it is the season as well, just about here. No, man, you have to watch it. It's an older film. Maybe black and white's hard for you. Film? I don't know. It is a Christmas film.
I love an older film. I just okay. I'll watch it. I'll watch it in this Christmas season. That's my homework.
Watch it for Christmas. Yes, it is a Christmas film. It's not like, it's a Christmas film. It doesn't have to just be a Christmas film. I don't think Christmas really comes in until like the last third, but it's amazing. Oh my gosh, yes. There's a reason it is so widely regarded and so widely seen at this point. It's an incredible film, and it failed when it came out. It absolutely tanked. It wasn't until like 20 years later that it was rediscovered and everybody like really latched onto it. And watching it now, it's like, I can't imagine. How in the world did audiences watch this thing in the 1940s and not go out and tell everybody I know they knew, hey, I just saw like the greatest film ever made. It's amazing. It's amazing. Easily in my top 5.
Right. Okay, that's it. I'm trying to bring up where we've put all the other ones because I have it in a folder somewhere. This was mine, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. This is, do you know what? This is an interesting one because I think with the first 3 Indiana Jones, or number 1 and number 3 at least, the God of the Bible is clearly real. And that's the world that he lives in. What I would have loved to see is, thing is, for me, if someone was to find that stuff out, surely it would change the way you live and your perspective on things. Right. It doesn't seem to affect Indiana Jones at all. He's like, yeah, these things are real, but I'll just carry on as normal.
Right. That's very true. I never thought about that. You're totally right.
Yeah, it's a little odd. But I think in Indiana Jones, what I do love, this one in particular, I've used it in a sermon, is that the long road, that's the leap of faith, where he steps out and it's actually just a vision perspective thing. I think that kind of like materialistic way of doing a miracle is incredible, and then you reach the spoiler alerts. If it's been out ages, if you haven't seen it, it's your own fault. And then obviously when it comes to the cup, that stuff is, you know, miraculous, not materialistic at all. That is like big time, you know, spirit stuff. So I like this because these films live in a world where God is real. For me, I wish it would have an effect on them, but I do like that, at least, aspect of it.
Yeah.
Right, I'm trying to go to our list. I'm sorry, I'm on my phone, guys. As well, I'd love to hear what your favorite films are. What kind of favorite film is this? Okay, this one I think is quite possibly the best in brackets Christian film, Hacksaw Ridge. It is tremendous. Again, not a family film, but goodness me, a true story as well, or based on a true story, following this guy who is he's a Seventh-day Adventist, I think, but he doesn't pick up a gun. He's got a thing about no guns, and yet he goes and serves in the World War, and serves in ways of saving people. I think it's just such a picture of Christ's love for everyone, and like and as well, there's an amazing part where he does pick up a gun, but to help to carry someone, and I'm just like, oh, amazing. That's just not legalistic. That's the intent of the item. And it was just incredible for me. I felt such strong, like, passion for this film. I was like, this is an incredible Christian film.
That I have not seen. This is the one I haven't seen.
It is.
So yeah, you got me all fired up. I gotta fill this blank in.
It is tremendous, and it's actually the same guy who directed The Passion of the Christ. So it's Mel Gibson again.
Mel Gibson.
But yeah, I mean, I would thoroughly recommend this one. What we've got, True Patriot. The Bishop's Wife is also a very good classic Christian film. I've not seen The Bishop's Wife.
I've not seen that one either.
That sounded like a line from a film. I have not seen The Bishop's Wife. The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. Again, not seen that film either, but I've heard incredible things.
Yeah, wow. Everybody's outdoing us today. I haven't seen that either.
Yeah. Father Stu is awesome. Just saw it recently. There you go. I need to see that. I really am looking forward to that one. Okay, so now we get into a few of the harder ones. And this next one is a little bit... it's obvious, and I think only the first film was obvious, but it's definitely not intended this way. I think us Christians just read it in. But it is The Matrix, which is the first of the three. Because it carries this such waiting for the chosen one. It carries this Messiah aspect in it. You know, generations after generation waiting for the promised one that would save mankind. Someone who can bend the rules of the world, who, you know, if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, but again, been out for ages, dies and rises again. It's a real picture of the messianic story, which I really love. I think in the first one, number 2 and 3 don't really carry that as well, a little bit, but not really.
Yeah, no, they definitely go a little afield of that in the sequels, and then there's a fourth one too, which even goes even further. It's called Resurrections, but I wouldn't recommend it. But the first one, I agree with you. It's there. I think what's great about The Matrix is that it, you know, from what I understand of the filmmakers, they did not come at it from a Christian worldview at all. Like it was not their intention, and certainly in what they have said about it, it was not their intention at all. But the really great films can hold multiple meanings like this, and I think the Christian allegory is so clear in The Matrix. You know, you don't even have to stretch it to see it. It's clearly there, especially with the bullet time. I mean, you can just see Christ in the. No, I mean, obviously not with the bullet time, but there's definitely some very heavy Christian themes in The Matrix, intended or not.
Yeah. It's A Hidden Life is one of my favorites, very spiritual. I've not seen that one either. Have you?
No. Oh, wait a minute. Was that a Terrence Malick one? I know Terrence Malick pretty much every film he makes is a Christian film in some way.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah.
I may be remembering that wrong. I'm not sure. Okay, it is a Terrence Malick film. Yeah,
it is.
I think
Man of Steel from Let's Be Honest.
Sure. Yeah, Man of Steel.
Superman. I know in a lot of their imagery.
Yeah, any Superman story is going to have some built-in Christian stuff, even though he was created by two Jewish kids from New York, or Chicago, if I remember that correctly.
Christmas Candle, Dave Guerrero. I have not seen that one. These are great. I'm going to be like writing all these down. Yeah, it's great. Love it. Okay, right. So I think we're down to our two that we probably have to explain. So let's go for yours, shall we?
All right.
Let's go for your horror choice, which is A Quiet Place.
A Quiet Place. Yeah. So I'm not actually much of a horror fan. But A Quiet Place I would classify as more thriller than horror, if I can make that distinction. But no, A Quiet Place is I think, look, again, this is not one that's like overtly Christian, but it does feature a family, a very close-knit family. This family is a family that prays together, which is not something you see too often in a horror film or in a genre type of film. And it also, I'm not going to spoil it because I feel like it's too recent of a movie to get into too much spoilers, but it does feature a significant sacrifice. And that sacrifice is so that others can live. And if that's not Christian, then I don't know what is. But just by virtue of the fact that it does feature a family that loves each other, that obviously has their problems like any other family, but they pray together and they're united, trying to get through a very difficult experience, to say the least. And that it does feature some of these thematically Christian things. This is the kind of film I'm talking about where it's like, what do we want in the culture? And I think A Quiet Place is a great movie that is putting something into the culture that's good. A family that loves each other, that prays together, and that sacrifices for each other. That's very Christian to me. So that's my justification.
And in the face of tremendous darkness, like that's part of it, isn't it? Is that kind of maintaining those values, not just because you can, but maintaining those things is actually difficult in the situation that they are in the movie.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of
well, and especially as you get into the sequel.
I'm not a horror fan either, but it's goodness me.
Yeah, well, and especially as you get into the sequel, it does explore even more this idea of like, how do you behave? How should you behave when things are going really badly? How do we are there now exceptions to to morality and things like that, or do we still need to hold on to those values and still be decent people even when in the worst possible circumstance? So to me, they're very moral films in that way, and anything that's traditionally moral is going to hit up against Christian values. It's going to happen because I believe that's where morality comes from.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these things, even we talked about the Matrix being, unintentional, but the Christian story and God is so embedded into our psyche, and also, we have it written on our hearts. We have this yearning inside, don't we, for God? So it's no surprise when it leaks out of people unintentionally now and again.
Yes.
Okay, so this last one is I don't like horror films. I was tricked into watching this. I really don't like these kind of films. I mean, someone was like, "Oh, shall we come?" I was doing a play, and someone was like, "Oh, shall we all come together and watch a film?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then they put this on, and I really didn't like it. However, it is The Conjuring, which is goodness me, it's brutal. Now, it's actually. You can say, yes, sure, maybe it can be, because it has two priests coming to exorcise some sort of demonic witch thingamabob. I'm not recommending this film to anyone either. Just please don't take this as a recommendation. It's very well made, but if you don't like horror, don't watch it. But it was the end of the film, obviously, typical any film, the good guys win, right? So, a demon or whatever is exorcised. But at the end of the movie, now you've got to remember, horror audiences are usually die-hard horror audiences. They will only watch horror films. They love horror films. They feed in horror films. So it is a kind of a sphere where you can't really impact with non-horror products, this audience. But at the end of this film, this is what it said. All right, the text came up at the end. It said, "Diabolical forces are formidable. These forces are eternal and they exist today. The fairy tale is true. The devil exists, God exists, and for us as people, our very destiny hinges upon which one we elect to follow." I mean,
look at that.
I was like, you just preached, a roundabout way, the gospel, and going, not saying who, but that. I was just like, my goodness. And I found actually that these two filmmakers who did this film are Christian, but they have no interest in making Christian films. They're like, no, that's just not for us. We just want to make whatever we want to make. And I just thought that is an incredible way of just reaching people. They got, it. They used the church. They used, it's the Catholic Church and these guys, but the Catholics come and they win over against evil. And I'm like, yeah, funnily enough, they have done something here, which I find really remarkable and excellent, but I don't like the film.
I've seen it. It is very well made. I probably liked it a little bit more than you, but not being a horror fan, I was never inspired to see any of the sequels. But I do admire it as a film, and I did feel like at the end of the day, it really was saying God is real and more powerful than anything out there, which is not a terrible message.
No, and I'm not going to lie, I just don't like horror films because they scare me, and that's about it. That's the only reason I've got. So, guys, that is our little session, and our film. I don't think we've missed any film. I think that's all the list of films that we had. So we'll love to take questions and whatever you guys want to ask, we'll try and do our best to answer. However, if you haven't yet, we're live for investment. Testament is live, so you can head over to angel.com/testament, and you can own a part of the show. And we're throwing in the film as well. So come along, join the Testament family. It's going to be fun. When we raise the funds, we'll get into production. January is too soon, obviously. But that's when the shift starts, and that's what I'm excited for.
That's when we start, yes. But we've been at this a little bit longer than you. So it's for those that have been following the shift, it's been a long time coming. And I'm excited for you guys. You guys have raised quite a bit already. You got more to go. I'm sure you'll be up to bat before too long here, and I'll be first in line to get that ticket. That's for sure.
I'm glad. Okay, so what are you both looking forward to, and when are you able to start filming The Shift or Testament, the series? Okay, well, we kind of talked about that. The Shift starting in January, which is exciting, and yeah, Testament, we're starting when we can. We're in the writing stage at the moment, but we can't proceed with any sort of plans until the funds are there. I'd love to film this summer coming, but obviously all of that depends on the funds being available at the right time. But looking forward to, actually, Brock, that's a great question. What do you like in terms of when making a film? Pre-production, production, or post-production?
Oh, man. That's a good question. I don't know. I honestly, I don't probably have much of a preference. I enjoy all the different stages for different reasons. I love pre-production because it's mine then, especially when you're writing. It's totally mine. It only belongs to me. And the only opinion that matters is mine. And then when you get into production, the whole thing changes. The whole thing changes. You get actors and you get other people, and they have their opinions. And then you have circumstances of the day which alter plans, sometimes radically from what you originally envisioned. You gotta improvise, and that's really scary, and that's also really fun. And then in post, you get to see the whole thing. You get to do it again, and things change again because of the realities of that. But then you actually get the real film, and you see what it is you've actually made. And that is very exciting. But specifically, the question here, what are we looking forward to when we are able to start filming? I think the thing that I'm looking forward to the most on that day is, they I don't know what the adage is because I'm terrible at remembering things like this, but so there's something to the idea of it's not real until you're doing it, until day one and you actually start rolling film. There's something about it not being real until that moment. It's like, I'll believe it when I actually call action for the first time. Then I'll believe that this film is being made and will be released.
Right.
Obviously, I believe that now, but there's something about when you say action and it's like, okay, this is actually happening now. And I think that moment is going to be a really, really big moment for me. I don't know. For you, Paul, what is it that you're looking forward to?
I think I'm most looking for, it's not the start film. I'm looking forward to the first table read. And I think that might be because of my history.
You're going to get to do a table read?
Yeah, I think we're going to do a table read because I've scheduled
that's cool.
weeks of rehearsal as well. So
nice.
I'd like to do when we're cast doing. I'd like to do 4 weeks of rehearsal and then during that time fit in all the costumes and all of that jazz during that time in the pre-production. But I don't know. There's something quite exciting when everybody gets to hear everyone's real voices, and no one's making the choices that they're going to make on set on that day, but you just get the hint of something. You get it's almost like the whiff of like newly baked bread. It's like, oh, is something cooking? And that moment, I'm super looking forward to.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, the way we're doing it and with everybody's schedules, I don't think we're going to have rehearsal or anything. It's going to be pretty much, we're just going as we go, just because we have so many different people coming from so many different places. I would love to do a table read. I've done that in the past for the short films I've done, and they are really exciting experiences, especially as a writer, to hear those words being said by other people for the first time, and the real people, as you say, the actual voices.
Yeah,
that's very, very fun. I'm envious you get to do that.
You've got
that's very cool.
Well, that's the hope, but you've got some real top talent already casting your films, and I can understand why schedules might be a bit of a mess there.
Yeah, just a bit. Yeah, no, but yeah, the talent we've got so far, they operate at a pretty high level, so I'm not necessarily worried about it. I think we're going to be okay. They seem to know what they're doing well enough, but yeah, no, it's an exciting thing when that first read happens. It's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, Lisa asks, will your movies or programs be on an app? Winky face back. Our movies will be, and our series will be on an app. It'll be on the Angel Studios app, which is free to download. It is free to watch stuff on there now. Our movie is on there already, which is really cool. The Shift will be on there, but I'm guessing that The Shift, you're going to obviously do a big theatrical release first, aren't you?
Yeah, we're going to have an exclusive theatrical window. And then once that's concluded, it'll be on the app and in some other places too that we haven't actually announced yet, but it will be on the Angel app for sure. After it's in the cinemas.
Awesome. Yeah, of course. After. Yeah, a film like that you want to see on the big screen. I remember, we hired out for our premiere a London Leicester Square cinema to do the movie screening. And just to see, as a director, just to see your work like that you spent years and years doing, just up on the big screen, you're like, nah, this is cool.
Yeah. No, that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Okay, Karen Brewer. What sort of differences can we expect in the pre-Christian world of Testament that we might not realize in our modern context? Oh, I've got to break that question down. What sort of differences can we expect in the Oh, okay. Yes. Karen, I'm going to answer with what I read as the question, but I might be getting it wrong. And Brock, if I've got it wrong, you can maybe correct me. So that because the way I see history playing out, I think obviously Jesus coming 2,000 years ago had such a tremendous effect on the world in so many different ways, sociologically, technologically, educationally, but charitably. Like, there are so many things that started with the early Christians, including education, which then, as in free education, which then has a knock-on effect of when technology is able to be developed. They had it on orphanages. They had it in, charitable things. There's so many things that our world has been changed by. So for me, I go, if Jesus didn't come 2,000 years ago, I still think technology would have moved on, but at a different rate and maybe in a different direction. So our world, and it's funny when we talk about sci-fi being a genre, because I don't class Testament as a sci-fi, but I guess in the rawest sense of the genre, it is, because it is a science fiction world, because it is an alternate reality. So technology is different, and actually that lends into our storytelling quite well, because I want the characters to have the same limitations, or at least some of the same limitations that the early church did. So there's going to be no mobile phones. Digital doesn't exist. It's all still analog, because you can go, hey, Peter, are you okay? Yes, Paul, I am. Thank you very much for asking. Great. No need to travel for, 5 weeks to see if you are. It takes all the drama out, right? So there's no digital technology, no internet. And because we still want the carrying of the letters and things like that to be a real thing. And I think weaponry is going to be a little bit different. Right? I'm still exploring that. I think there are there are cars in the movie.
I noticed that.
Because they're just there. I can't.
Because you can't get rid of them.
Got rid of some things, but not everything. I think there are going to be vehicles of some kind, and they're probably just they're going to be cars, because modes of transport we do like that, but things are going to be different. I hope, Karen, that answers the question. Maybe.
Yeah, no, you answered it.
Okay, since when did you two get to know each other, dear Paul and Brock? From Shantimaya. Shantimaya has been awesome over on our socials. You've been commenting and interacting with it loads. Thank you so much. Well, Brock, we met at the Angel, what do you call it?
Yeah, at the Angel Gala back in May.
Gala, yeah.
May of this year. Gala,
yes.
Gala. I never know how to pronounce that. And we're not. We pronounce words so differently. We're not going to come to a solution here today.
I know, right?
But yeah, that was so. Yeah, we've just known each other about 6 months now. Not too long.
Yeah, about that. Yeah,
but
we were.
But I think
all the upcoming shows and all the new creators were invited over to Angel for this gala to kind of present what was coming up, so all as newbies got to meet some of the legends, including Brock.
Well, it's funny because I did not feel that way. I'm the veteran in the sense that I've been with Angel for a while, but I'm more, I gravitated towards you immediately because I recognized kind of a kindred spirit where all these other guys, all the other Angel creators, like, Ashley Bratcher and Russ Kendall and, all of a sudden I can't think of his name, the Wingfeather guys, they all have done so many things in the past already, thank you, Chris Wall. They've done so many things in the past already, and they have these, these impressive resumes. And then here you and I are coming in with our little things. And I was like, oh, I can talk to that guy. That guy understands me. So I don't know. I felt a quick kinship with you immediately for that reason, I think.
Yeah, it was likewise immediately. And I'm really glad that we got to be able to do this live stream together. It was really cool just hanging out with you again.
Yeah, it was, absolutely. No, I hope we get to, in fact, I believe we are going to get to do it again here pretty soon, this month with another Angel event.
Yeah, which is going to be really fun. So guys, that is it. That was our final question. Thanks so much for tuning in one last time. Head over to angel.com/testament, where you can invest in the show and own a part of the show and help us make the show, which is the exciting way that Angel does things. I love it. I think it's really awesome. I'm super excited to see Brock again later. I'm super excited for when you start production, and even more excited to see the film. I really hope it comes to UK cinemas. We shall see. But
we definitely are planning on that.
Yes, that's good. It's actually, last thing I'll say is it's one of the reasons why, because with our film, we had it was nice, quite a few distributors to choose from, but Angel Studios is the only one that I've seen like everywhere. You know, the model that they do makes their films, make their content, make their series available wherever you are and for free as well. And I just thought it was, you know, in the UK we hardly ever get films for very long. We hardly get the Christian films. They're using Christian. It's not a genre, Paul. But so that's one of the big reasons why we went with them. So I'm really hoping and I'm really excited that we'll have this shift over here in the UK, and I'll tell everyone to go see it.
Yes, please.
Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us. Brock Heasley's been amazing, and thank you guys. Love you, and I'll see you next time on our next live stream. Ciao.
Thanks, Paul.
Working with Paul, he's very, very clear in what he wants, which is great for an actor.
From sort of the Zoom calls and some of the rehearsals, there was a warmth there, and you could really feel the passion from Paul about this particular project.
Everybody is just, just so relaxed, and everybody knows what they're doing. Everybody seems to be at the top of their game.
There was such a buzz, just such a great vibe between everyone, between cast and crew.
Everyone who's here really wants to be here, and you can feel there's a lot of love on this set, man, and it's quite rare on sets.
It's literally the nicest group of people that I have ever worked with. Everyone's been really lovely, super organised, like really organised.
It's been a blast. It's been a very chilled out kind of set, even though there's been a lot going on and a lot of takes, but it's been a really nice environment. That kind of makes the difference, really.
Yeah, I'm massively grateful for Paul and the opportunity to work on Testament.
3, 2, 1.